I'm Dr. Revels, and you listen to the REVELSations Podcast. Please subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcast, and let me know that you are listening. Drop a comment, be a part of the conversation. We're all family and friends, so please call me Rev and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell an enemy that you are listening to the REVELSations Podcast. I'm a little bit under the weather, so forgive my voice, but we're going to keep rocking on. Again, my superpower is consistency, so we're going to do this. Been thinking a lot lately. Again, another trip around the sun. Thank heavens, thank God, or whoever you believe in, that you made it another trip around the sun and you're still listening to me, and I made it another trip around the sun and I'm still here. So let's get into the topic of today's verse, and that is separation anxiety. Separation anxiety. Let's get into some dictionary definitions as we like to do here on the REVELSations Podcast. So we're all on the same page. The first one is separate. To separate. It's a verb, to set or keep apart. To set or keep apart. So separate is something you actually have to do. It doesn't just happen. You have to do that. To separate. To separate. It's like you have to actually actively separate. The act or process of separating, the act of moving things apart. Very important. Because of that, then once things are separated, they are also isolated. They're by themselves. And that is to be set apart from others, to be isolated, to be set apart. So the act of moving apart is separation. Once you're separated, then you are isolated. And I said separation anxiety, which is actually a thing. Separation anxiety it's a common development stage in children characterized by distress or fear when separating from caregivers. A common developmental stage in children characterized by distress or fear when separated from caregivers. Let's get into it. I'm going to take separation anxiety a little bit further than just a common developmental stage in children. I think it happens in our adult lives as well. We are afraid to separate. We are afraid to be isolated. Oh, we might want to be by ourselves sometimes, but it seems like we want to be a part of the crowd. We want to be in the know. We have this FOMO, fear of missing out. We want to be a part of everything. Everybody wants inclusion. And I don't think anything's wrong with inclusion. I want to be included where I need to be included. I want to be a part of things. I like being a part of a group. I have several groups that I'm a part of, text screens and group chats and things of that nature. And I want to be. I have my work group, my friend group, my religious group, or whatever. I like that. But I think when we get into trouble or where we need to work a little bit, again, I say we, is when we get into what we call groupthink, and it's dependence on other people and not ourselves. So groupthink is the practice of thinking or making decisions as a group in a way that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. If we think about our lives as individual as we want to be, don't we participate in groupthink? The way we dress, the way we think, the way we act, what is cancelable, what is not cancelable, who should be canceled, who should not be canceled. A part of that comes with groupthink. And I believe that until we no longer have fear or have separation anxiety, we're all going to be a part of groupthink. And I believe for all of us, including me, and I'll talk about my personal story in a moment, isolation or separation is one of the main steps of going to the next level and being a better person and finding out who you are and what you think instead of being a part of the groupthink. So there are several famous people, both spiritual and philosophical, who isolated themselves or were isolated for several reasons. We have the Buddha. He left his royal family and the worldly life to meditate in solitude, and later on founded the Buddhist religion. A lot of people on the sound of my voice believe in Jesus. He spent 40 days in isolation in the wilderness, fasting and praying before beginning his ministry. We got, for historians out there, Henry David Thoreau. He lived alone for 2 years at Walden Pond to understand the simplicity and self-reliance before he wrote his book. And Gandhi, for example, he lived by himself and practiced silence and solitude for reflection and spiritual clarity. We have famous writers like Emily Dickinson. We have other historical figures like Steve Jobs. He traveled to India seeking spiritual insight and getting away from everything. several ideas of people, several mentions of people who left, got away, they separated themselves, they isolated themselves to go to the next level. So I've done that a couple of times in my life. I'm actually in a state of isolation now. I have moved away from my family. I've moved away from my friends. And it doesn't mean that I don't talk to my family. It doesn't mean I do not talk to my friends. But I was posed with a question the other day in one of my group chats. And the question was, when someone says something to me and I know the response I'm supposed to give because that is the response I was taught and that's the response I always am supposed to give. But what if I actually don't believe that? What am I supposed to do? How do I decipher or pick between what I was told to believe and told to say and what I actually believe and what I actually say? And I thought about it for a second and I responded and I said, you know what? I got closer to God when I stopped following what everyone else said. When I stopped going to church, when I stopped listening to different pastors, when I just sat and wrestled with what I truly believe. And it's not in the God space, it's in all the spaces because we are inundated by groupthink on what we should think, what we should do, and what we should believe. And I believe that until we isolate ourselves, put the earmuffs on, put the blinders on, and sit with ourselves and really think about what we believe versus what we were taught to believe. Some of the things that we were taught to believe, we will remain believing those things. But a lot of times when we challenge those and think about it on our own, we might come back to the group renewed like Steve Jobs. We might come back to the group enlightened like Buddha. We might come back to the group ready to start our ministry, ready to start our purpose like Jesus. All these people isolated, but they isolated to elevate. And guess what they didn't have? Separation anxiety from the crowd. They embraced the separation, much like I have lately. I've embraced the separation or the isolation, and I began to sit with myself, separate from the crowd, and really think about what I think. And it can be what I think about what the crowd has said. It can be that. But when we constantly are inundated with the crowd and we're in the crowd, it is only natural that we're going to start thinking like the crowd and we're going to be a part of that group think. And we don't want that to happen. We want to be individuals. We want to be creative in our mind. And we can be a part of society and we can help society grow, but not until we find what we truly believe, will we take the steps that we need to take to be the best people that we can be. Other than that, we're just a part of the groupthink and we're a part of the robot. We're a part of the machine that continues to perpetuate itself. Now, here's the thing. The group doesn't want its members to leave. The group survives on groupthink. Remember, groupthink is the practice of thinking or making decisions as a group in a way that discourages creativity and individual responsibility. It discourages it. No, we're a part of the group. Don't you want to be a part of this group? So many people stick by their families their entire lives. I see nothing wrong with that. But I do wonder, when you're under your family the entire time of your life, you're living close to your family your entire time, your entire life. Do you believe the things that you're living out? Or are you living those things out because you were told to believe those things? Two examples and I'll get out of here. First, my language, the language that I'm speaking. Am I speaking this language because this is the language I think is best? Or am I speaking this language because this is the language that was given to me and I was told this is how you communicate with people? This language was forced onto me because I was born in a country that speaks this language. Another thing, I want everybody to think and ask themselves this question as I close. Whatever you believe, politically or religiously, why do you believe it politically and religiously? Not just I believe it because I agree with the fundamentals or I've experienced it for myself. No. I'm not asking that. I'm asking, why do you believe it? Why do you think that way? Could it be because you were born where you're born and you were exposed to what you were exposed to, and the people on the other side or in a different country, they were born where they were born and they were exposed to what they were exposed to, and they believe differently than you simply by location, simply by where they were born, just like you could possibly be believing what you believe simply because where you are. I was born in a Christian nation. So a part of the reason I think with a Christian mindset is because I was born here. If I was born in a non-Christian society, in a non-Christian country, and a non-Christian way of thinking, I wouldn't believe in Christianity the same way that I do. I might have found it later, but at least I can admit one of the reasons I believe in it is simply because I was born and that's what was given to me, much like this language. So if I can then realize that the reason that I think the way that I think is because I was a part of a group and that group put things in me, they indoctrinated me with things. Then when I look across the aisle and I see somebody else who believes what they believe and think what they think, instead of thinking they're wrong, I could say to myself, I imagine if I was born there, I would think the same thing that they think. And if they were born here, they would think the same things that I think. And then we can begin to respect each other more because we know the reason we think that is because we have been a part of a crowd and the group to think has been put in us and placed in us so that we think and we don't have our creativity and our individual thoughts. Think about it. And how do we then separate from that? How do we separate from the ideas? Well, we have to separate ourselves. Maybe not physically, but in a lot of ways, we do have to separate ourselves physically, like the list of people I was talking about, like yours truly, may have to move away, separate yourselves. And I will say this, every person that I know that has moved away from their group, moved away from their family group, moved away from their friend group, moved away from their community group, they tell me how much they have grown and how much they look back on their group and say, you know what? I love the group. I agree with some of those things, but some of those things I just can't get with because they stepped outside of the group and they began to think it as individuals. So I ask you, what do you think? What do you think? Not what you were supposed to think, not what you were told to think. Rev is asking you, what do you think? Drop a comment. Let me know. Thank you again for listening to the REVELSations Podcast. I am because we are. Hallelujah, holla back. Peace.
Yeah, the revelations now televised. A platform for you and I. And now look with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. REVELSations.